大家好，我是连长。今天我特别想跟大家聊聊我和这本书的关系。在过去，从我年轻成人到现在，这个不断的做各种各样的创业、各种各样的投资的过程中，如果有这么10本书的话，那么这个影响力无疑就是前5本。那我跟这本书的关系呢，有好几个阶段。第一个阶段呢，就是相对比较年轻的时候，刚开始接触这本书的时候，就是你觉得找到了一本葵花宝典，这本葵花宝典影响力这本书里面给你罗列了6、7种对别人施加影响力的方法，同时呢，又如何避免别人对你施加的一些营销的或者无效的或者夸张的或者是不真实的影响力的方法。第二方面，我在这本书里面发现了这个好奇心这件事儿，通过问为什么，通过设计巧妙的社会心理学的实验，然后找到其中的原因。第3部分呢，聊聊这本书和连咖啡之间的关系。那我们回顾连咖啡做的一些事情呢，还真是能够跟这本书里面所提到的一些观点和逻辑能够非常的匹配。就是你送我一杯咖啡，我送你一杯咖啡，我因为你帮我做了一件事情，我感谢你，送你一杯咖啡。我怕你记不得我了，我送你一杯咖啡，让你想起我。所以连咖啡在整个无处不在传情达意的过程中，充分的把这一杯小小的咖啡当作人传情达意的一个重要的工具，联系人，发挥影响力，产生互惠关系。创建连咖啡受我多年前的读这本书的影响。其实我有一个问题提给作者，这本书已经出版了很多年了啊，在这很多年里头，其实整个世界发生了很大的变化。我的好奇心是这本书是如何与时俱进的，希望作者能给我一些回答和解释。
那么博士，您能不能回答一下王江老师的这个提问？
Of course. And I'm very glad to be with you this evening. It's an honor to be part of this event. And I should say that I think there are 2 questions within the question that you raised. The first had to do with why has the book been so influential for such a long time? What are the secrets of its longevity and its popularity for so long? The other question is, well, what's new? Why should we be paying attention to the new edition there? So let me answer each of those questions in turn. First, what is the secret for making this book as successful as it has been? I think it has to do with something I was looking for when I first wrote the book, and that is the most fundamental motives in all of us that lead us to say yes. Not the things that are current in that particular time or in one particular industry or one particular business function. No, what are the things that are universal, that have always moved people in the direction of yes, when we include one or another of these principles into our message? And, these days, the book Influence is called the guidebook for all e-commerce. It's a book that all digital marketers must read. Well, how could that be when the book was written before there was electronic commerce, before there was digital marketing? People have asked me that question. How could you look forward and see the future? Here's the truth. I didn't look forward. I looked inward. I looked to the things inside the human condition that had always moved people toward yes, authority, scarcity, liking, social proof. These things that typically cause people to make good decisions when they are part of an opportunity they have. So the key was to look inside and to see what will be there in the human repertoire for ages and ages to come, not just 40 years ago or right now. These are the features of the human condition that spur people toward yes. All right. So that's why I think it has been so successful. Now, here's the second question. What's new now? Why should a reader read the new edition? One of the major things is indeed the blossoming, the burgeoning of the internet. Now, much of commerce occurs not in face-to-face or brick-and-mortar kinds of situations, but online. And this book describes how these principles of influence have been translated into online procedures and practices that are effective there. So that's why anyone who is interested in how online commerce works might want to think about the new edition, because we treat that there. There's a second thing that's very new, I think, is I spent a lot more time talking about the results from research, not that was done in the laboratory in a scientific setting, right? But in real world situations, in real commercial situations where people are influenced toward, yes, we spend a lot more time about spending time talking about the results from those kinds of situations, which I think are more relatable and actionable as a result.
我是重阳投资舒泰峰。重阳投资是一家从事二级市场投资的私募证券投资机构。那么在证券投资当中，社会认同、权威服从等也是普遍存在的一个现象，这也是投资当中的大忌。因为投资需要尽量保持客观以及理性。我想请教西奥迪尼先生的是，除了书中提到的保持警惕这些技巧之外，还有没有其他更多的办法能够让我们远离社会认同以及权威服从这些因素的影响，尽量让自己保持客观以及独立呢？谢谢。
Well, another very good question. And I think it's a question that I anticipated in the new edition of Influence. Every chapter has one of the 7 principles of influence in it. But at the end of every chapter, there is a section that is called defense, or how to say no to this principle when it's going to take you in a direction that you might not want to go, or when it's been used by someone in a way that is inappropriate. How do you say no to these principles if they're so powerful? And so at the end of each chapter, I offer some advice about how to say no. For example, the principle of scarcity works by getting people to decide to move in a particular direction so they don't lose something that's valuable or dwindling in availability. And when we see something like that we might lose it, we feel a sense of physiological arousal. We start to breathe a little more quickly. We want to seize it. And what I say at the end of the chapter is, recognize that arousal. Read the arousal in you and stop. As soon as you feel that you're being governed by the emotion that scarcity produces, that should be your signal to step back from the situation and say, now, wait a minute. I know that this is scarce, but what are the merits of this thing? Just because it's scarce doesn't automatically mean I want it. Most of the time, it's a good choice to make that if something is dwindling in availability and if it is valuable, we'll want to seize it. But we have to think about that. How do we cue ourselves? When we feel the arousal emerging, that's when we should stop ourselves. The same thing has to do with the liking principle. For example, one thing we choose to do is to say yes to the people we like. Well, suppose we're in a car showroom in a dealership, and there's a salesperson who is selling us a car, and we find that, wow, in just 30 minutes, I've come to like this salesperson especially well, more than I would expect in 30 minutes. That should be your signal. Oh, wait a minute. Let's think about, what did he do to get me to like him? Oh, he gave me a bottle of water or a cup of coffee. Oh, he praised me in my choices of color combinations, or what? Or he said he grew up in the same town that I did, right? Well, if that's what he did, and that's why I like this salesperson, I have to step away and say, now, wait a minute. If I buy the car, I will be driving the car away, not the salesperson. I won't be driving the salesperson with me. So retreat again to thinking about the merits of the situation, of the opportunity, of the offering, rather than just that there's liking there or there's scarcity there. So I do that for each of the principles in the book. And so that would be my answer to that very good question.
西奥蒂尼先生您好，我是在销售咨询领域的一个从业人员。我今天的问题是基于您在书中提到一个概念叫注意力。因为在这之前呢，我们总是准备各种各样的一些逻辑的理由去说服客户使用我们的产品，使用我们的服务。但自从你在书中提到这个注意力就是原因这个论断之后，我们突然发现这个营销的原理啊也发生了一些变化。我们不再试图说服我们的客户，而只是还原事情的真相，还原产品或者服务的真相，抓住客户的注意力的时候，我们就本身呢就能够带来很多的一些合作。我觉得这个实际上简化了我们的营销的努力，实际上也是让客户变得很舒服。我的问题是，你能不能多分享一点这个有关注意力的一些结构，或者说注意力的层级？因为我们注意到一个人、一个团队或者一个公司、一个组织，甚至一个社会都有它特定的注意力的结构。我不知道西奥蒂尼先生在这个方面可不可以多分享一点，让我们对注意力可以有更多的关注。谢谢。
I think this is a very insightful question, because recently I have been thinking about attention as a lever for change. That is, when people pay specific attention to a particular feature or concept or idea, right, they automatically assign it more importance. Right? The more we are focused on something, the more we assume that it must be important for us if we are focusing on this one thing. Right? So, what as a salesperson, someone would want to do is to take the most powerful feature of their offer. Let's say it's authority, or let's say it is scarcity, or popularity, right? And bring that to attention of the recipient of the message first, before you ever move to describing your entire offer. Make sure that the strength, the most powerful feature that characterizes your offer, right, is the one that's top of attention. Right? Here's a study that I love this study, and it was done in a wine shop. Right? And researchers watched what happened when customers came into the shop and there was either German music playing on the sound system or French music playing on the sound system. When there was German music, people bought more German wine. When there was French music, they bought more French wine. Whatever was at top of consciousness, whatever had been brought to their attention, then channeled their behavior in a way that was consistent with what was top of attention. So there's another study that I think really applies to the kind of way that we can present our ideas on the internet. It was a study done in an online furniture store that specialized in sofas. And for half of the visitors during one particular week who came to the online website, they were sent to a landing page that in the background had fluffy, soft clouds. Those people bought more comfortable furniture. When they then went into the options of the various kinds of sofas they could buy, because comfort and softness was at the top of their mind. The other half of the subjects were sent to a website that had background wallpaper of small coins. This brought the idea of price or cost to mind. Those people bought less expensive furniture as a result. So whatever was brought to top of mind as soon as people went to a website, then influenced their choices afterwards. So all of us who have landing pages, right, we have to think, what's the image on the background wallpaper of our site? It should be the thing that is our strength. An image of something that is our strength, that should be the first thing that comes to mind. Then when we send people into our site, when they encounter that strength, they will have been readied for it and be more likely to respond to the thing that is most powerful for us, right?
西奥迪尼先生你好，借新书出版的机会，我想提一个问题。这个问题是关于心理学的。心理学研究的是人们的心理，研究的是认知。那么人们的普遍心理会有偏差，这偏差陆陆续续大大小小，重要的不重要的累积起来有200多个。那么我想问，常见的偏差有30个，这30个偏差是不是都能转化为利用这个偏差影响别人心理，影响他顺从我的一种因素呢？影响力我阅读了这么多遍，我的理解就是运用普遍存在的那些人理的特点，比如心理偏差，把这心理偏差变成一种内容、语气、情绪来影响别人做出决定。比如说像互惠原理、喜好原则，它实际上是利用了人们的捷径的反应和认知对比的效应。您在书里反复说明，第1章就详细解读了。其他的影响力武器也在运用的是心理偏差，比如权威原则就运用了光环效应，社会认同原则运用了从众效应。那么还有那么多心理偏差，是不是都能研发出利用这个心理偏差影响人的武器呢？如果是这样，您能发展第8个武器、第9个武器、第10个武器吗？
Well, he is exactly right that there are many psychological biases. But what I tried to do with the 7 principles, those what I think are most elemental biases for people to decide to say yes or no, right, is that these are the ones that have the widest applicability across the greatest number of situations and industries and practitioners that I could find. These are the ones that seem to work in all situations. Now, not with the same amount of power in all situations, but you will find all of these principles working in a wide variety of situations. So there may be other biases, but I couldn't find other biases that worked across all of the situations that I investigated. These were the ones that I thought deserved a place in the book, 1 to a chapter, because every profession that seeks to influence us was using these principles. Well, that was my evidence then. For the people whose business it is to get others to say yes to us, to them, whose economic welfare, whose economic outcomes depend on the effectiveness of the strategies that they use. I learned from them, right? They were my teacher. I wasn't the teacher. They were my teacher as to which are the principles that are likely to be successful throughout the years and in many kinds of situations. But I don't doubt there are others. They just won't be as universal.
非常感谢博士的回答。